My goodness, I've never had trouble with that camera before. Hey, what's up? Thanks for joining me. This is Mark with Northwest Bourbon. I've got Gabe from Whistling Andy Distillery in Montana. How you doing, Gabe?
Good, man. How are you?
Well, I was doing awesome, getting everything set up here, and then I went to turn on the stream, and my main camera's not working.
Yeah, all good, man. I know how these things go. I was doing a couple of Zooms yesterday that were having some issues.
I might catch up to you. I see you already got something poured. What are you drinking over there?
Right now, I'm actually. It's funny. We just finished bottling a batch of our Harvest Select. So I always like to have a pour of the batch we just bottled.
Well, cheers to you.
See, we got a bunch
got
of
a couple
bottles
bottles over there
to top. I'll finish those up in the morning. But yeah, it's our Harvest Select.
Nice. Is that the 4-grain?
This is a 4-grain whiskey. Yeah. It's all Montana grains. We get out of the Mission Valley and then out of the Great Falls area. But yeah, cheers, man.
Right on. Cheers.
Let's get started.
Oh, man. Super excited for tonight. First off, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know if you caught what I put in the description earlier. When I was setting this up, I started looking up stuff online on YouTube and stuff about different interviews with you guys. Like I saw the one that what was it, Spirit Hub did with you guys like a year or two back. Yep. That was pretty fun. And I noticed that I could not find another live distiller interview from Montana.
Crazy, man.
Like from the state of Montana, I could not find another live interview with a distiller. So
we're hidden.
Yeah, we're breaking new ground here.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy.
So I'm pretty excited about that. You're first.
Yeah, it's crazy because we're the oldest distillery in Montana.
Right, I saw the oldest operating distillery. Yep. Right?
Yeah, we weren't the first to open 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But by default, we're the oldest operating. Actually, let me rephrase that. We're the oldest legal operating distillery.
Yes. As far as registration paperwork goes and whatnot.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we've been in the same location here in Bigfork since 2010. We actually just bought a new building last May, and we're literally today, before I jumped on the call, I had a plumber here that we're disassembling our still because it's getting moved on Monday.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
into a bigger facility.
Yeah, so the facility I have here, so you're just looking at a smaller section of the barrels, but
right.
I think we have like 240 barrels put up right now, and I'm in a 6,000 square foot building.
Okay.
So we're just running out of space, man. So
all right, you gotta think thin through the aisles.
Yeah, it's like every day, man. It's like playing Tetris, dude. we're moving pallets. It's all fun, you know. Me and Brian and Patrick, we enjoy moving stuff around and getting our exercise in every morning. But definitely looking forward to our new facility coming. Hopefully next month we'll be up and running again. So
okay,
yeah, man,
nice. Well, I wanted to try something fun with you since I have already kind of put in ground whether it's 100% accurate or not, that you're the first Montana distiller to do a live interview. So I wanted to do a little bit more audience participation.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay, because that really is what separates like a one of those interviews that are like produced and edited and cut out and sent out to everybody. And so what I did is I sent out an invitation to a bunch of other whiskey reviewers on YouTube and whiskey enthusiasts that I know just from being in the community. And so I've sent out the link so they can join us. And so what I was going to do is what I call the revolving door of questions.
That's cool.
Okay,
man.
So I'm going to have somebody jump on and introduce themselves to you and ask you what question is burning in them. And then and once that conversation's been talked about, we'll kick them out and bring the next one on, like a revolving door of people interacting, but only bringing on one at a time. That way the focus kind of stays on you and Whistling Andy and that kind of maintaining control of the environment. That sound good?
Great. Yeah, sounds great, man. Perfect.
Okay. And later on, I've got stuff here because later on I'm going to make some cocktails with the Whistling Andy here. And I'm not much of a cocktail guy. I mainly just drink bourbon kind of a guy, and so it's going to be almost experimental, you know. So that's going to be fun watching me fumble around and make some cocktails with your bourbon.
I love it, man.
All right, so first up in the chute, I've got Sean from Whiskey Wars. Hey, Sean, thanks for joining us, man. I know it's late where you're at. Sean's over in Kentucky.
Yeah. Cheers, fellas. Good to see you.
Cheers, man.
Hey, cheers, Sean.
I'm not drinking anything because, as Mark mentioned, it is quite late here. But, yeah, good to see you guys. I was drinking some earlier. You may be able to hear it in my voice. Anyway, so I guess my question is, if you're able to tell us about your mash bill, that would be cool. If not, then next question would be like, what kind of temperatures do you guys typically keep your mash bills at? And like, you know, where are you finding the sweet spots at in your mash bill temperatures and things like that? And, you know, yeast temperatures, all those kind of things. So whatever amount of information you want to divulge as far as that goes. So
I assume you're talking about the straight bourbon.
Yeah.
So our straight bourbon is 60% corn in the mash. So we do 60% corn, about 17.5% barley, 17.5% wheat, and only about 5% rye, man. But yeah, we have an 1,800 gallon mash tank made in Spokane, Washington by Spokane Industries. So we do 2,400 pounds of grain in each mash. And at our elevation, we have to cook the corn. So the bulk of the mash bill is that corn. We have to cook the corn at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for essentially the corn to gelatinize. Like the cell wall of a kernel of corn is a lot thicker than like a barley or wheat or rye. So it has to cook at that hot temperature in order for us to extract all those sugars for fermentation. So we'll actually cook the corn first, cook the barley, wheat, and rye about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. We do add enzymes, alpha amylase, to help keep all the grains liquefied. And then we pitch, like I'll pitch the yeast about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That's between 82 and 85 is kind of the sweet spot. And the next, like within a 12-hour period, it'll start fermenting, and try not to let it go any more than like 91, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want any of those sulfury notes to start coming through on your fermentation, which you don't want that to carry over in your distillate.
Right, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but at higher temperatures, it kind of starts to strain the yeast a little bit, right? And
yeah. So I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years, man. So, you know, anything and everything that has happened wrong, you know, has happened to us one way or another. But yeah, so you try to, you know, you want to get out of here for the day early or something, and you pitch the yeast at a hotter temperature, you know, say like 89, 90 degrees. That next morning, man, you know, I'm going to come in, I'm going to temp it. It's going to be 98 to 100 degrees. As soon as I open the door, back in the DSP, the distillery, it's just going to get a waft of that sulfuriness. So, and it does strain the yeast. So I could go from our normal ABV on a fermentation is about 12 to 14%. Those hot ones are down in the 8-9% range, which in turn, I'm going to be not yielding nearly as much as I would like, or as I should be when it's all said and done.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, man. Great questions.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, thanks, Sean. I appreciate you staying up and jumping on with us. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me, Mark, and good to meet you, Gabe.
Yeah, cheers, man. Enjoy. I love your background there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
All right, cool. Oh, we got a lot of catching up to do in chat.
Yeah.
Bourbon Van's in the house there in Oregon. If you're not familiar with them, cheers. Troy
Bourbon
Man's in the
Van.
house. Fashionably late. I know, man. I was messing with my camera. I'm running off the laptop camera right now. My main camera decided it doesn't want to do it. So we're gonna have a talk later, me and him. Tell you
There
what.
you go.
Marvin's in the house. Glad you're here, Marvin.
Hey, Marvin.
Marvin, Troy, feel free to jump on.
Oh, I see a question. Our new building is just over 25,000 square feet.
Oh yeah, he asked the square footage of the new building because he said the one you're in now is 6,000.
Yeah, so I mean, over triple the size, man. It's huge for sure. I say it's huge now. As soon as we start moving stuff, it's definitely gonna dwindle down for sure. Pulse, that's about 20 miles south of me, 30 miles.
So you're on the west side of the Rockies, right?
Yep, and we're right on Flathead Lake. Like literally, the bay is like a mile that way.
Oh,
to my
okay.
left. Yep, Bay of Flathead Lake. Which I don't know if you've ever been to Bigfork, but it's definitely it's a beautiful place, especially when you're coming up through Polson and you see the south end of the lake for the first time. It's just this massive, massive lake on the base of the mountains. It's awesome.
Right. I actually picked up the bottle of your whiskey, your bourbon, when I was coming back from my mom's place in Libby.
Okay, yeah.
Make that drive at least once a year. And so, like online, what it says in black and white on the internet is the people in Montana on the west side of the Rockies consider themselves as being a part of the Pacific Northwest. But on the east side of the Rockies, they do not. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a true statement for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get over to the east, the mountains. It's the Great Plains, man.
Yeah, it's totally different over there.
Yeah.
The western part of Montana is probably the prettiest country I've ever been in. I love Washington State. You know, there's a lake in every town. There's mountains everywhere, trees everywhere. Montana is the only place that really competes with that.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got Indpndt Joe on deck.
Sounds good.
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Cheers to both of you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming on.
And that's a great back bar there, man.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, he has a couple bottles.
Yeah, a couple of bottles. I guess my question is, I was looking on the website. I'm not too familiar with Whiskey Andy, but ready to learn. So, and that's why most of us are here. A lot of us are whiskey enthusiasts and people who do the little whiskey tube here. But I guess my question is, I see you have only a few expressions of a bourbon or whiskey. And I was wondering, what are you going to do? Like expand? How are you going to expand? Or like, are you going to ever do like a cask strength? Or what are the plans for the future? I guess with your bourbon.
Great questions,
Great
man.
question.
So online we only offer a few selections. We actually do 15 different spirits in house. We do five different whiskeys. But the online thing is fairly new to us. We launched that just before the pandemic in February of 2020. But anyway, yeah. So the straight bourbon, honestly, this would be our number one selling thing if we had endless amounts of it. But we might put up 6 to 8 barrels a month. And 3 years ago, I was lucky to put up 2 to 3 barrels a month. We've just scaled up. We got bigger fermentation tanks, bigger mash tanks over the years, or over the last 3 years. But I do have a second bourbon that's it's our straight. Get the camera right.
Yeah.
This is a rum
cask. Okay.
bourbon.
Ooh. Marvin, are you seeing that, man?
This thing is delicious. It's by far, I mean, I like all our spirits for one reason or another, but this is just super unique. We're kind of starting to dabble in the finishing of different whiskeys.
Oh man.
But I'm not to the point yet where I could start doing cask strengths. Like those are coming down the pipe for sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to do cask strength on the bourbon or the Harvest Select.
Okay.
Doing a premium product, even if it's just for Montana or if we offer it online, there's a bunch of different avenues we could go. But right now, the name of the game for us, man, is just putting up as much of the brown spirits as we can.
Gotcha.
And, 3 years ago, like it's great. Just like any business, you got money coming in and there's always money coming out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like there's more money going out than it's coming in. And
definitely.
You need that money coming in to put up the bourbon, and we're in a barrel. Let's say a barrel between labor, grain, water, the electricity for the day.
Yeah,
you'd be a barrel anywhere from $1,600 to $1,800.
And so, how long do you let those age before you decide to put in barrel?
We won't even touch them for the first 2 years.
Oh, gotcha.
We'll start doing sensory about that 2-year mark on the bourbon and the Harvest Select. And for a minute there, we were letting them roll the bourbon. We were letting them roll to 4 years old. Man, that 4-year-old mark is phenomenal. You get a lot more of those oak characteristics from the barrel.
Yeah.
But now that as we start to grow, like my barrel supply is starting to dwindle, which isn't. It's not it's a problem, but it's not a super bad problem. Like we're always producing more. But my bourbon supply is definitely going to be allocated for the next probably 8 to 12 months, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
That's why it's not online. It's like online right now. It says out of stock. We'll probably release some for the holidays in November to our online distributor. So look for that if you are interested.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I saw you had the rum cask. Are you guys thinking of doing any other type of cask like cognac or anything like that?
We do a tawny barrel all finish on our rye.
Okay.
So we can't call it tawny port anymore because the designation of port is Portugal. So we did the port wine. So this is our rye whiskey. This we're hoping to get online before the holidays too.
Oh, nice.
So this is a 95% malted barley, 5% rye, and then we blend it with our Harvest Select. And then it sits in a tawny port barrel for 6 extra months. So it's got a lot of the amber colors to it.
It does.
The tawny cask, which that one's awesome. Like if you're ever in Montana and come to Bigfork, you get a lot of like fig and like dried fruit flavors from that port barrel. So I've always been intrigued by like just port and wine finish barrels. I've had a number of big brands that are doing it that are phenomenal. And it's all about experimenting, man. And I'm always curious, like what it'd be like to put whiskey in a tequila barrel or anything like that. So the rum barrel one is probably my favorite that we've done.
Nice.
That one's super cool. You get a lot of brown sugar and molasses off that rum cask.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. So we have of these barrels back here, we have a couple that we've tucked away since we've essentially opened, right? And like you look at them every day, and it's, well, shit, I want to pull that barrel. I want to taste it. We have a 10-year. We have rum barrels that are over 10 years old. So some of the first like bourbon barrels that we pulled. We put white rum in it. It's been sitting for 10 years, and every time you taste it, it's like, damn, this is really good. But the market for aged rum, dude, is like you could go to the liquor store and buy a aged bottle of rum for like $25.
Yeah,
that's like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So we're not sure what we're gonna do with that one. That one's a fun one, but yeah, man, trying to do a lot of finishes. The idea of moving to the new building is that we're definitely going to scale up production. We'll have more
Nice.
space to put up barrels and get a little more creative. We have a single malt coming down the line, and then
Cool.
and then another rye whiskey coming down the line. But those just got to sit for a while yet.
Oh, I don't want to be the question hog, so this will be my last question.
No,
but
man, this is awesome.
For anybody who's looking to buy but don't live in Montana, do you guys ship out to various states, or at least some of the states, or are you guys not at that point yet and only relying on distributors?
That's a great question, man. And so yesterday there was I don't know if you've heard of Discus or the American Craft Spirits Association. So once a year we do a public policy conference that we get to speak to House representatives and senators. Yeah. So we were able to do some lobbying yesterday in front of Senator Tester and Senator Daines, all virtual. But it's not legal yet for distilleries to ship spirits to consumers, which sucks, for a lack of better words. We're in 9 states right now. We just launched our online store through a company called Speakeasy. So you go to our website, it looks like you're buying it directly from me. You are in a roundabout way, but I have to send a pallet of product to San Diego. We pay to get it warehoused, and then they ship.
That's closer to me.
Yeah, they ship it out all over. There's 32 states where it's legal to ship spirits to consumers. Right. But it's not legal for distilleries to do that yet. So it'll be kind of a game changer when that happens, because, the barrier of entries to like certain states, to find a distributor is the biggest challenge in today for distilleries.
All right. But yeah, appreciate you, Gabe. Yeah, I'm going to jump off. Maybe somebody else might be waiting. Cheers, everybody out there.
Cheers, guys.
Hit the like button. Also, make sure you check out the distillery. I put the link in the chat. I'll put it in again so that everybody can see it. And if you want to click on learn more about the distillery, you can click on that link. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, thanks, Joe. Appreciate you, brother.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
This is great, man. I love all these questions.
All right, good. All right, so how long have you been there with Whistling Andy?
So we opened 12 years ago. I've known the owner since the beginning. I started here 8 years ago. My background was actually in the brewing industry. I went to Siebel Institute in Chicago to brew beer and work kind of like a cellarman at a local brewery here. And Mike, who's now moved on, he just retired. He was Brian Anderson's old business partner. So Whistling Andy's name came from Brian's last name is Anderson. That was his old man's nickname.
Yeah.
In the military, he served in the Air Force back in the 50s and 60s. And then just before we opened, Roger had passed away, so we named it after the old man. But yeah, so Mike was actually a home brewer and worked at a brewery. So that's kind of where I met him and Brian, was through the brewing circuit here and just where we live. And a lot of the manufacturers for spirits and beer it's pretty tight knit. So,
right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm going to bring on Troy, man.
Perfect.
A friend of the channel. What's up, Troy?
Hello.
Hey,
I don't have nearly the cool background of Joe or Sean, but I got my kids' art here, so that's something.
Hey, that's awesome.
Hey, that's invaluable, man.
Yeah, I should maybe hang it straight someday. I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah. So a question for you. I'm in the wine business over here in Washington State, and I know that the source of materials makes a huge difference in the final product. So I was kind of wondering, like, what makes Montana grain the best for you versus something else that you could source somewhere else?
Yeah, we honestly get a lot of our grain out of the Golden Triangle by the Great Falls area, which, is supposedly one of the best areas to get grain. I mean, even a lot of the big manufacturers are sourcing grain from that area. I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like I guess I don't, I could always tell you Montana grain's, you know, the best, better than Idaho grain or better than Wyoming grain or whatever. But
yeah, it's available, which is one thing.
yeah, it's available.
And if
we
it's
like
not
to
bad, I mean, why not?
Yeah, we like to emphasize like our core products of whiskey. We emphasize always distilled from 100% Montana grain, and that's kind of always been our philosophy.
Yeah.
When we're using Montana grain, but we'd like to do
is there a legal side to that too? Because in Washington State, the distilleries around here tell us that they have to use over 50% of their grains from local in-state farms.
That could be a Washington thing, man. It's not in Montana, no.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything federally that designates that.
No,
as far as I know. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Montana grain. I couldn't tell you if it's better than others.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question. If there's like a signature note or anything you get from Montana versus anything else, I don't know how much you drink other whiskeys. To try to get
I do drink all our whiskeys, and a lot of my like. I mean, I feel a lot of those flavors that come through in different distillates. I mean, it could be a distillery in New York, a distillery in Washington is really the distillation techniques, man. So, yeah, grain plays a flavor of, you know, has a huge component of the flavor, your yeast, the water, where you're making your cuts.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, different bar. There's so many different strains of corn or different strains of barley. So, you know, I couldn't tell you the science behind that, but I feel like there definitely is flavors you get from different grains. And like you guys were talking to, I think his name was Austin.
Yeah,
he was doing the trick to Kaylee or trick to
Cali, yeah.
And I've always been super curious about that.
That's
dry fly. That's an awesome pour right there.
Right.
I love that brand. Yeah, I've always wanted to dabble in that, but to get that available in Montana, like it's not always available, man, because sometimes just farmers aren't growing it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, what Austin said was Triticale doesn't have as sharp of flavors as rye does, but the main thing is that it's easier to work with.
Austin actually used to work here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Cool. Well, that's all I had. One last thing. The water you use, you just do it straight out of the wells, or are you doing like filtering? What do you do with that?
Yeah, so our water we run it's ran through an RO system.
Oh, okay.
So don't want any like minerals, you know. Fortunately, here we're at the Bigfork that they don't chlorinate the water.
Right.
We're very rarely do they chlorinate. If they do, they let us know, and the breweries around here know. Usually it's only gets chlorinated when there's a mass amount of people here for like tourist season. But yeah, so they don't chlorinate anything. We run it through an RO system. The water is actually pulled from an aquifer that's under the lake is where they pull the water from. Yeah, it's municipal water. It's great water.
Okay.
It's funny. You could talk to a number of distillers about their water, and they'll tell you it's the best water in the world. So
that's what
I always get a kick out of that. So, you know, everybody has the best water. Everybody has the best grain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sells. It makes sense.
It sells, man. It's all marketing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, Gabe.
Cheers, man. Thanks, Troy.
Cheers.
Great to meet you.
Appreciate you. Cheers.
Yep.
Good.
Yes, I love this. This is an excuse to have some whiskey.
There's always an excuse. Bourbon Ballers in the house. What's up, man? Bourbon Van still hanging out. If any of you guys have some questions of Gabe, go ahead and jump on here. I know my buddy Marvin lives just east of me, about 40 minutes. He has been big into rum this summer, but he's a big whiskey guy. So when he finds a whiskey finished in rum cask, it just makes his day. And I saw it earlier. I was trying to find it, but he was like, "Man, if you could put out that rum finished whiskey at cask strength, you can make him a happy boy."
That we've talked about that. That's definitely down the pipe, man, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I'm super excited to get into this new building. We'll be able to scale up our production. Yeah, the rum cask, we only do it once a year, usually for the holidays, kind of a holiday treat. It's also, honestly, it's a huge driver of foot traffic into the tasting room. So,
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Uncle Trey, are you still on? I see you're still in the studio, but you don't have your screen on, so I don't want to pull you on if you're not ready to come on, man. But one of the things following that is, so you get double barrels. Some of them finish in honey cask. Some of them finish in maple cask.
Yeah.
You got rum cask. All the other ones, like the wines and stuff, don't bring the sweetness up so high as the ones I just mentioned.
Correct.
And so if you get like one finished in maple or honey or in rum, if the proof point gets bumped up a little bit, as opposed to, like 85 or 90, it comes out at like 110, 117, 120, around there. The proof offsets that sweetness for my palate, at least, and makes it just a completely satisfying experience. I love it.
Yeah, I find like whiskeys that I've had that are finished in sweeter barrels, like a honey barrel or a maple barrel, if they're at that too low of a proof, it's too sweet, man.
Right.
It's almost. Right. And I think some brands might, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing by any means, but I think
no.
You're almost going for like an old fashioned in a bottle at that point.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Where are you located? I didn't get to ask you that.
Oh, well, you know where Joint Base Lewis McCord is?
I don't.
Okay, so Seattle.
Yep.
Then Tacoma.
Okay.
Cut that distance in half. South again. Joint Base Lewis McCord is, I want to say it's like the 5th largest military base in the country, after like Hood and a couple of the other ones.
Are you currently in the military then?
Yeah, I did 10 years active duty in the Army.
Oh, very cool, man.
Got to go play in Afghanistan on 4 deployments. Wow. And after 10 years active, I jumped over to the reserves so I could spend more time raising my kids and whatnot.
Well, cheers to you, dude.
Thank you. I love it. I love being a soldier. I love the job. But doing it full-time active duty just took me away from my daddy duties too much.
Yeah.
And so I had to make that choice. Plus, it wasn't a terrible option because, like, next month I hit 16 years total. And so I'm still working towards my 20-year retirement, even though I'm not active duty anymore.
Yeah.
I'm working at a different job full-time and just doing reserves once a month.
Very cool.
It's not a terrible job. All right, Uncle Trey is in the house. Are you ready, bro?
What's up, man? So sorry about the technical difficulties I had. So
no, you're good, man.
Kind of like Troy. I want to apologize. Like my background don't look like any of you guys either. So
that looks fine, dude.
I'm gonna have to step my game up.
I see a bottle of Blanton's.
Yeah, a little something. Got a little something. So
nice.
So anyway, so being from the Pacific Northwest, technically, right? I mean, I know you guys kind of represent us, so welcome to the club. But over here, like, we're very eclectic. Like, you could get a group of 10 dudes and everybody likes different things, right? Does Montana have like a certain, like, we prefer, like, as a community, do you guys prefer a certain type of drink?
I would say an old fashioned. They're talking cocktails here.
Not either one. You know, cocktails, or are they strictly whiskey people, or do they venture out into, like we were talking about, rum and stuff like that?
Bourbon old fashions. Every cocktail menu, every cocktail bar, cocktail menu has a bourbon old fashioned on the menu, right, or some iteration of that.
I think he's talking about like the culture of the area. They have like a preference kind of thing, where it's like a store is going to sell this like crazy because of the people in the area. That's what the majority of them want. Like it's a cultural thing. Like in some areas, that Tennessee whiskey just flies off the shelf just because it says those words on the bottle. or like brandy or Hennessy or whatever. Certain things will fly off the shelf just because of the area that it's in.
You know what? It's more of that's going to go to craft brewers. It unfortunate for us, but like that industry in Montana is so far ahead of where the distilleries are.
Oh yeah.
So like the distilleries are like the new guys in town.
Okay. Did that spread over from Washington and Oregon? Because I know, what was it, like 15 years ago or 20 years ago or something? All of a sudden, the craft beer scene just blew up around here.
Man,
where like the Shoots and Pyramid and all these people just like went crazy huge.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you started seeing all these other little microbrews prop up, and they're good until they started going like straight into IPAs and not doing anything else. But sounds like it spread all the way to Montana.
Yeah, we're pushing 100 breweries, and I mean our state's huge, but there's not a lot of people here. But like every little town has a brewery. There's 30 distilleries here. But you think of Montana, and you think of a few big craft breweries in the area that seem to gravitate more towards the consumers here.
Yeah. So the uncles will basically drink anything you put in front of us, right? I mean, Mark found that out last weekend. But we do drink a lot of cognacs, a lot of brandies and stuff like that. Do you see yourself like venturing out that way?
Yeah, we do a Kirschwasser, a cherry brandy.
Oh, you already do one?
Yeah, we do one made from Flathead Lake cherries. It's tough because to get cherries, it's like by far our most expensive product for the actual raw material.
Yeah.
We could buy 4,000 pounds of cherries for $1 a pound and ferment that, cook it, ferment it, distill it, and I get like 375 bottles. So like the return on that's not a lot, but at that point the craft kicks in as a distiller, and it's something you always got to do. So we do a Kirsch made from Flathead Lake cherries. I'd love to do an Applejack or an apple brandy, but right now we do a lot of rums as well. So that's kind of where we branched away from the whiskey game, I guess you could say. And it's crazy, like coming out of the summer, I find myself more into the gins. And then as I start getting into the fall, I get more into the whiskeys.
Yeah.
But no, I love brandy, man. I want to make more brandies, and being that there's more cideries around here, I would love to distill a cider and make that into a brandy and see how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another product we do. I don't know if you've ever had a distilled beer at all. So its name would be a beer schnapps. So we started distilling a beer from Bonsai Brewery, which is a little brewery in Whitefish, Montana. So we'll literally take 400 gallons of beer, run it through our Vendome pot still twice, and then carbon filter and bottle it. And it's you get a lot of the hop characteristics, and the crystal and caramel malts come through the distillate. So that's a product unique to us. It's unaged, but it's super cool. It's super good. But yeah, always trying to think of different products to make. I love cognac. I love brandies. I just need to make more of them.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. We'll have to hook up on that brandy though. Sounds nice, man.
Yeah.
And cherry is my favorite. So that's dope.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Cheers. Have a good evening.
All right. Cheers, Trey. Let's see. Marvin said he was trying to jump on and join us, but he's having some connectivity issues.
I see a question about some rum there too.
Yeah, that's Marvin, the Whiskey Wine 101.
Gotcha.
Alberta, population 4,120 plus breweries. Nice. Yeah, Ben's up in Canada. He's just north of you.
They've been.
Yeah, can you talk about your rum?
Yeah, rum. I'm a big fan of rum, man. I mean, I could tell you I'm a big fan of whiskey. I could tell you I'm a big fan of anything. But no, we do spend a fair amount, producing rums here at the distillery. We do a base white rum, which is blackstrap molasses that we get out of Louisiana, and then first cut like raw cane sugar. So it's not like cane sugar you'd go to Walmart and buy in a 50-pound bag or something like that. It comes out of South America. Comes out of Colombia actually, but it comes in like 1 pound bricks. So super like brown sugar, like molasses even on the sugar. So during the distillation process, you get a lot of like clove and banana characteristics that'll come through in your distillate. So if I'm taking a taste off the parrot of the still, like you get super clove heavy, banana forward characteristics. And then we, definitely getting agricole notes for sure. Agricole style rum. It's sugar for sure. But yeah, so we take that rum, the white rum, we turn it into, I don't have a bottle close to me or I'd show you, but we do a product we call hibiscus coconut rum. So we've had that product since we first opened.
Bricks of sugar.
Yeah, it's sugar. I swear, man. I'm always curious when the pallets of that come through, like how easy would it be for somebody to hide something in the bags of the sugar, Something's got to be in there from Colombia. Who knows? Just layers of it. But it's all sugar from what we found so far. But yeah, white rum, we turn it into a spice rum with 11 different spices. And then we turn it into our hibiscus coconut rum, which not our number one seller, but definitely I would have to call our flagship spirit. So definitely one of those, spirits that's unique to us.
All right, I'm gonna try making an old fashioned with yours. Like I said, I'm not.
What? How many ounces are you doing on your pour? Or are you just free pouring it?
I'm doing 2 of these, whatever that means.
Looks like maybe 1.5 ounces jigger.
Sounds about right.
What do you got for a sweetener?
I was gonna do Woodinville's maple syrup.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect for fall, man.
Yeah, I thought it sounded great.
Yep.
Yeah, hibiscus coconut sounds like an easy sip. Yeah.
Yeah, the hibiscus coconut rum is awesome, man. So that it takes all the color on. So we steep it with dried hibiscus flowers. So all the color comes from the hibiscus flower petal. And then we use raw coconut that's ran through a centrifuge. Early on, we were actually cracking coconuts and just using the coconut water out of the coconut. But in the distilled spirits industry, it's all about presentation of your bottle, and it doesn't always look appealing when there's floaties or
husks and hairs and stuff
on the bottom of your bottle. Exactly. So we used to have like this massive oily residue on the bottom of the bottle of the hibiscus rum. So went away from that, and it's still all natural coconut, but we run it through a centrifuge to take all those fatty oils out.
Right.
To keep it all crystal clear, essentially. How's it going over there, man?
It's coming together. I got the syrup in there, got the cherry in there, ice, whiskey. feel like, oh, I missed the vermouth. Let me bring BourBen on here. What's up, BourBen?
What's up?
BourBen, how you doing, sir?
What's
Cheers.
going on? Cheers. So, question. A lot of the craft brewers here, a lot of the smaller distilleries, I'm in New York.
Okay.
Kind of funny you mentioned, New York versus Montana distillate all over earlier. A lot of them are using smaller barrels to get more influence because
like the 20 liters and stuff.
Because we don't have as much heat swing, and I see a lot of 53s behind you. Wondering, do you guys do anything in smaller barrels, either 15 gallons, 30 gallons?
We don't, man. And honestly, like when we first started putting up whiskey, we knew, 15, 10, 5-gallon barrels, but we played the long game. We didn't even put out our first whiskey for almost 3 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right out the gate. So that being said, we don't use small barrels, but I've had a lot of whiskeys that are great in small barrels. And like the situation we're in right now with our bourbon and it being so allocated, it's like, man, maybe we should have planned a little more towards the future and had some small barrels sitting, because realistically you could get a pretty good flavor out of a 6-month-old,
Well, it's one of the things they're doing here.
Because,
we don't have as much temperature swing.
Yep.
There's some other areas, or we'll have a temperature swing, but it's only once or twice a year. It doesn't swing back and forth. That they're getting good influence out of much smaller barrels.
Yep.
But they're able to age them for 6, 7, 8 years in a smaller barrel.
Yeah, I've heard of that, and
I get the yield is terrible, but
yeah,
but the flavor has just been unreal lately. Some of them that are hitting.
Yep. I'm still very curious about the little barrels. I don't need a forklift to move them. I can carry them. I have some great whiskeys, and we still contemplating dabbling in the small barrels with single malts. So could be a thing.
American single malts are kind of where it's at right now.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming up. There's a few of them here, like Westward and Westland, and was it Copperworks?
I might have gotten a little tuned up on Westland last night.
Oh, yeah.
Single barrel Vic.
Yeah. Those are the 3 big single malt guys over here that I know of.
Yeah, those are all great brands, man. And they all make great whiskey.
Very cool. That's really it. It's quite late. I'm actually headed to a YouTube meetup about 6 hours from here tomorrow. So I just wanted to come on, say hello, ask quick questions.
Cheers, man. It's great to meet you. It's almost 1 a.m. there. Get some sleep.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Ben. I appreciate you jumping on, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right, see you there. Oh man,
this is great, man. I'd love to show you our new building when the time comes.
I'd love to see it. Love to see it. So crazy question. What do you think the best business decision you guys have made is, and what was the worst?
Well, the worst would have to be when we first opened. I mean, I could think of a few ones, man. And just like any business, man, you learn as you get older, and
right.
And we can make all the booze in the world, but you still got to sell it. So early on, we were making vodka. That was, horrible. And, but 12 years ago, man, there wasn't a lot of distilleries out there. So there was less than 200 in the US 12 years ago. Now there's 2,300. So you can see how that industry is growing, but making vodka on a pot still is realistically, it's not possible. Your column on your pot still is not tall enough. So you can't reflux your spirit, redistill it to a high enough proof to call it vodka. Although you could sure as hell try. just running it through your pot still and cycling it multiple times to try to hit that 190 mark.
Right.
But at that point, it just doesn't work. You're going to create yourself a gas, like just a spirit that just tastes like gasoline, essentially. So, and then you're trying to put that on the market. So the biggest mistake, man, is like releasing something that's just that's not good. It's like if you don't like it, other people aren't going to like it. So,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. Like there's some stuff that's been on the shelf that when you try it, you're like, how did this get through all the people that it has to get through to actually end up on this shelf?
You know, and the best way to go, man, is like for us, if we were gonna have a new product out before we start marketing it, maybe outside of Montana, like we need to see how it's going to do in our tasting room first.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we'll do sensory, you know, all the distillers and whoever else will do a sensory panel. But like, if it's good enough, we'll try it in the tasting room. And if it does well, then we'll put it outside of Montana or wherever online. But yeah, the vodka is like what sticks out.
As the big flop.
Yeah, that's the big flop. We've since got a new, you know, we've got a vodka still 6 years ago. So we have a vodka column. It's separate from our pot still. So we're able to make really good vodka. It's all 100% Montana corn. So you get like the buttery, almost like a buttery mouthfeel off the vodka. That being said, I'm not a super like vodka drinker by any means. I definitely would prefer, you know, have a pour of whiskey. But I've dove down that avenue where I've tasted vodkas for a month on end, and that's all you drink because you're trying to figure out how the hell to make a good vodka.
Yeah, and what I've heard, part of it is when it comes to making those clear spirits is you've got to let the whiskeys age, and so you need some revenue coming in the meantime.
Yeah, they pay the bills for sure, man. I think every distiller will tell you that.
Well, and that leads to another thing. That also leads to the other part of sourcing. So you guys never sourced?
That's a great question, man. So we actually did it. We did it backwards. So we didn't source any distillate for the first 11 years. So we recently launched product in Taiwan just before the pandemic, and Taiwan and the Japanese market are very much into American whiskeys. And you go over to those countries, there's not a lot of American whiskeys other than you got Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, all the big brands. So craft brands are not very prevalent over there yet. So we went over there through the Montana Department of Ag years ago and kind of launched with our straight bourbon and our Harvest Select. But they're more apt to buy large quantities of distillate or a barrel or pallets, and we just couldn't sell them, pallets or barrels of our bourbon or our Harvest Select. So our next option was to pull some product from MGP. So it's funny because years ago, like I've always been an advocate of don't source your whiskey, make your own whiskey, make it all in house. And I still have those feelings to an extent, but there's a lot of revenue to be made off of sourcing.
Which is a lot of why a lot of the young distilleries do it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of like brands that you wouldn't know about that source from MGP because, most brands aren't transparent. First off, they'll use the designation on the bottle that says produced and bottled by rather than distilled, whatever.
Right.
But as like I get older and I'm in this industry a lot more, it's like, who cares what the other guys do and just care what you're doing as your own brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we source a rye from MGP, and then we blend it with our Harvest Select, and then it sits in a tawny cask for 6 months. And like that, out of the markets out of the country, like that was the idea for that one. And then to get us kind of through the lull with our bourbon, just to have an extra source of revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things real quick before I bring the mash bill on.
Yeah.
Ben, good night. Thanks for joining us, man.
See you, Ben.
I'll see you later. Also, just to let you know, I put a poll in the chat to where when they look at the chat, we can't see it from where we're at.
Yeah.
But they see where they can vote on what their favorite cocktail to make with whiskey is. And so the options are old fashioned, Manhattan, whiskey sour, or other. And if it's another, they got to put it in the chat. So just letting you know that poll is going on in the chat while we're doing this.
I have one for me. All right, I can tell you my favorite one out of those.
What's that?
You know what, man? I tend to drink rye Manhattans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's always been my go-to.
I'm gonna try a Manhattan with your stuff here in a second. Stanley, thanks for joining us, man. Cheers.
Cheers. How you doing?
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're not late, man. We're here. So we were late if we weren't here anymore.
So I just wanted. Okay, so you're in Montana. You're located just off of Flathead Lake.
Yep.
And I got relatives up there, a lot of relatives in Kalispell.
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how all of a sudden somebody decided to put up a distillery in Montana.
Yeah.
And when is your okay? So I've been trying to get a hold of a bottle, but I can't find anywhere to buy it. And I went on your website, and you're all out of the black label.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. So, when will it be available for purchase again?
Cruise the website right around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We're gonna release some cases to our online distributor. Where are you located? Are you in Montana?
No, I'm in Southern California, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the best way for you to get it. If you have family up in Kalispell, they could get a bottle here at the distillery for sure.
Okay.
Yep. We try to keep it in stock as much as we can here at the distillery. Like right now, we just harvested a barrel, so I'm sitting on cases.
So, is there plans decently in the future, like within the next year or so, that you're going to be more of a national distribution?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of the goal is to grow where we could sustain that growth. We don't want to grow so much where I'm out of product all the time. But right now we're in 9 states. And honestly, man, that's the biggest challenge for any craft distiller. A couple of us out there have kind of figured it out. Like Dry Fly in Spokane they're like in 32 or 36 different states. Some of those guys, but they've kind of figured they have the key to the gate, I guess. But right now for us, being in 9 states is awesome. We want to try to hit up Arizona as our next state, and Texas. But it's finding distributorships that are going to carry your brand. That's the biggest challenge. But there's this new brand called Liberation Distribution, or LibDib for short. Essentially, it's an online distributor. So if you were a bar or restaurant owner, or a liquor store owner for that matter, you could download this app that's called Liberation Distribution, and you could order product from my distillery if the distillery is licensed in that particular state. And then we'll take cases and we'll ship it to LibDib's warehouse in California. And then they we'll ship it to the bar or restaurant or liquor store that wants that case of booze. So that's kind of like trying to get a brick and mortar distributor. If you could show that amount of sales for, a 6-month period through LibDib, you're more apt to get picked up. So we're kind of doing that in California right now, in the Sacramento area, just because one of our sales guys is out of that area, and we've got some traction, and hopefully that'll turn into an actual brick and mortar distribution. So, but yeah, I don't know how often you go to Vegas, but
not very often. But I do have friends in Vegas and stuff like that. We just had a meetup actually of a bunch of YouTube channels in Vegas for Labor Day weekend. We went, and there, it's really weird how there are some things in Vegas you can't get in California. But because usually California is the place where you can get everything, at some point in time, but usually tends to be a little bit more expensive than other places. But like you said, with this, the online distribution, this LibDib, doesn't that also add a cost to the bottle itself? Because now you're
adding a third party. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's why like the DTC direct to consumer shipping is such a big deal for, that just needs to pass, because that's going to open doors for us. Like I could sell you a bottle of my bourbon for, I don't have to pay a distributor,
right?
That middleman fee. So the biggest pushback with that right now is the wholesalers. They want their cut. But it's crazy. Like the wine industry's been able to ship bottles of wine since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And right now the distributors are fighting us on getting this passed, which is tough because you don't want to fight with them because they carry your product.
Yeah.
But they're kind of the barrier of entry right now for any distillery to get into, especially brands like us that aren't, we're just a small brand and we don't have all this money, like Constellation or Pernod Ricard money backing us to grow. So it's all organic.
Well, yeah, I mean, then, you're not in a position right now to have Young's or RDNC or any of them fighting over trying to get your product.
Correct.
So it's like you're hoping that one of them wants to pick up your product, but you're not at a point now where, I mean, everybody was there. Woodinville was there. Freaking Wilderness Trail was there. All these some of the ones that were now Starlight, all these ones, they were all there at some point in time, and it took a while to get national distribution. And some of them, even like Starlight, as big as it is, doesn't have national distribution. You got to, we have to order. I still have to order Starlight. I don't see it on the shelves here. It's not something that shows up.
Montana either. Yeah, and that's an awesome brand. I was fortunate enough to go to Louisville last December and got to check out Starlight. We did a whole tour of the Kentucky area and went into Indiana. That distillery kind of blew me away. That and Kentucky Peerless. I don't know if you've had any Kentucky Peerless product.
Yeah.
I have a rye, a Peerless rye.
Yeah, Peerless Rye is great, and they're a big distillery. Don't get me wrong, but like they're like looking in the future, 10 years or whatever. Like they're kind of like attainable size. You go to like these big brands though, like Angel's Envy or like Rabbit Hole or something. Like they're just stupid massive, and it's also what those big brands have a lot of money backing them.
Yeah, well, Kentucky Peerless, though, I know how big they, quote unquote, how big they are. They got nationally, they've got the distribution and everything else, but they only put out 2 products.
Yeah.
They put out a bourbon, they put out a rye.
Yeah.
Most everything else that you can get, like the double oaks or anything else, the specialty stuff, is distillery only for years until they decide to put out a one-time only double oaked out to the distribution for one time only. Then it all goes back to the distillery. So all you see is small. All you tend to see is the small batch bourbon and small batch rye.
Right.
And it, the bottles are close to $100 a piece, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff they're putting out there, but it's like they're a small, really super small distillery because, like I said, they only have two products that are regularly available.
And they do everything all cask strength, man. So they all their stuff's right out of the barrel, cask strength. They don't. I asked the owner why they do that, and he's like, it's pretty funny. He's like, I spent 4 years taking the water out. Why would I want to put it back in? So I was like, that's fair, man. But no, it's a great brand, great product.
So what's your do you have like an entry proof that's like your entry proof that you love to freaking do these bottles out to start with?
Our entry proof on every barrel that we do, whether it's our corn whiskey, that's a bottled and bond product, our Harvest Select, our bourbon, our aged rum, it's all 110. So that's kind of been our sweet spot. We've tried barrels at 115 or 120, but that 110 mark, just the flavors that we're getting out of those barrels, we use number 3 charred barrels from Calvin Cooperage out of Louisville.
Oh,
that number 3 char tends to give like your whiskeys more of like an earthy like spiciness.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could talk about Calvin Cooperage and how great they are. One thing that stands out to me with them is that it's all hands on, and like they naturally fire their wood with like actual logs, not like a burner or anything.
Well, not just like a gas flame kind of thing.
Yeah, not like a gas flame. Like they'll literally do the toasting. Like when they toast the barrels, they'll literally toast a barrel for 20 minutes before they do the charring process. So like that toast is going to give.
That's where that extra flavor comes in.
Yeah, man, that toast is what gives your whiskey that flavor, like the vanilla, the marshmallow, and it also takes some of the sugars out of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's beneficial for your whiskeys for sure. But yeah, 110's been our entry proof. We've been with Calvin for 10 of the 12 years. Before that, we were using Brown Foreman for barrels, but getting oak, man, it's hard right now.
So then have you considered Limousin? Going with like a Limousin oak, and because you can get a lot more flavor technically in a shorter period of time because of the wide grain that allows for a little bit more of
absorption
coverage in a shorter period of time.
I haven't dabbled in that. Like we've entertained some different oak from other countries. Like there's a Brazilian oak. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Amburana.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good one.
We've entertained pulling. So these are all American white oak from Calvin, but like I wouldn't want to be a new brand trying to start a distillery now because there's only a handful of cooperages in the country. And in order for you to have cooperage, barrels, like we have to forecast, 3 years down the road how many barrels I'm going to need. So like next year, we were pretty aggressive on how many barrels we asked for. And, originally it started at that 150 mark. But now we bumped that up to 240 to be safe. And then in 2024, we bumped it up to 280. So, but you have to let Calvin know that how many barrels you want allocated to you for the next 3 years, or else you're shit out of luck, for lack of better words.
Or you're making American whiskey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
That's there can only be dedicated for so many things, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ask too many questions
No,
there.
you're good,
Oh,
man.
no, dude.
I love the questions, and I love chatting with people in the whiskey community, and it's great, man.
Well, I mean, I look forward to at some point in time when you guys do get more bottles to go ahead and purchase a bottle so I can taste this whiskey.
Yeah, float around the website, closer to Thanksgiving, and we're gonna do some marketing around it.
They have the white label and everything else, but I'm not in that. But on the site, but it's kind of like I don't know. For some reason, the black label kind of like just reading the notes on it and some of the little tiny reviews I saw on online and stuff seems to be the one that most people like a little bit better.
I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to sell you on the Harvest Select by any means.
Right.
But I actually, my personal palate, I actually prefer this guy over the bourbon.
Man, that's the one I wanted to try. When I read through all the different bottles he had, I was like, man, I want to try that 4 grain.
So the 4 grain, it's we took it a standard American mash bill and we kind of flipped it around. So like when I think of American whiskey, you think of heavy corn, heavy rye.
Yeah.
So this guy, we went heavy barley, heavy wheat, as opposed to the corn of a bourbon.
Okay.
So flavor wise, like it's not an Irish whiskey by any means, but it's kind of dabbling down that road. It does get a lot of that the same similar flavors of you might get out of a good Irish whiskey, but that heavy wheat kind of brings it like a nice sweetness to it. And you almost like when you're nosing it, when you first nose it, you get like a citrus, almost like a tangerine flavor to it. But it's funny, I get a lot of tangerine, I get a lot of honeyness, like honey maltness to it. We don't use any honey malts. Even when like the distillates, the new makes coming off the still, and you taste it in the parrot, my mind goes like right to like a Teddy Graham, like the little cookie, Teddy Graham cookie. Again, not trying to sell you on it, man. I mean, I could tell you, all my stuff's good or whatever. The juice is great, but I tend to find myself drinking the Harvest Select a little more. They're both, at that 3-year mark. The Harvest Select's the price point's a little cheaper. Honestly, it's cheaper because all the corn that we use is all organic. So our organic corn it's pretty expensive compared to like a barley and a wheat. So the price point for us to produce, let's say, a gallon of that Harvest Select is a lot lower than a gallon of, a proof gallon of bourbon.
So then are you so you said it's a high wheat, high malted barley mash bill. Or is it like pushing 21% on the malted barley, or is it like, is it a high malt?
It's not malt. It's just regular barley, unmalted, no malted barley. Yep. So just barley and wheat, 15% corn and 5% rye.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I immediately when somebody says there's it's more it's like more when they say more barley, I tend to think that it's a malted barley, so therefore it's like a high malt. That's what when you said like the Irish thing, I kind of immediately went to more towards a high malt.
Yeah,
like 21% malt, but it says barley. Okay, so I mean, I'm not saying you're selling me on it, but I mean, I guess I could survive. I could survive on a different bottle. But
you're intrigued.
I'm always intrigued. I mean, the thing is that the one thing that like the smaller distillery stuff, the brandy distilleries, the California, you got. I can throw a rock and hit a distillery now. But people are putting out different stuff. There's more and more people putting out 100% rye. There's more and more people taking the time to make 100% rye, which is extremely hard to do, and you can't do it quickly. It has to be done over a length of time. Not just like boom right now.
And they have to add the enzymes because they're not using barley.
Right. So like and the smaller distilleries have they've got something different. Some of them are I'm starting to get into American single malts, and I'm starting to get like some people are 50-50 on Woodinville. I appreciate myself personally. I like it. There's some ones out here like Stillworks or Woody Creek or some of these other ones that put out really good products that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
So I'm trying
like
to get
the Cassius one that Joe talks about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Corbin Cash is another
Corbin
one.
Cash, yeah.
They use Merced rye, their own strain of rye from the Merced area of California. And the grain to glass stuff. That's the other thing too, is that a lot of the grain to glass places now are getting better and better. Frey Ranch, Corbin Cash,
very good.
Yeah.
So that's why when Northwest, I was surprised he asked me to come on and talk and everything else, because I never shut up. But
and I know that.
Yeah. So
and I still asked you anyway.
Yeah. So you still have
because you and I had the military connection, plus just the love of good whiskey. And so I'm like, dude, this is the first time a distiller from Montana is going to be on a live stream interview. I'm going to invite freaking everybody to come make it an event, man.
This is awesome, man. I mean, I know a number of Montana distillers that would probably would love to chat with you guys. So if you do, I give you some leads.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I love helping like promote the local craft distilleries kind of thing, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Because what we were talking about earlier with sourcing, like they buy other people's whiskey, put it in their bottle, and sell it for twice the price. I'm like, I'd much rather help you guys out.
Yeah.
And talk about the things that local people are doing, because some of the things that you guys do that doesn't get broadcasted out there is that after the grains get distilled and after all that fermentation process happens and all that stuff, the leftovers go back to local farms to feed their cows.
Yeah, man.
It's like a cycle.
It's funny you bring that up.
Community.
The
circle of life, like giving back to the community and stuff. Like, I love it. I think it's so great. You guys take care of each other, and the passion is there. And I'm just like, why are people not appreciing this? This is so amazing. It's good whiskey. Stanley, as soon as I get my hands on some more, I'll hand deliver some for you. But it's super caramel corn on the nose. Lots of caramel corn on the nose. There's a little bit of cornbread on the palate, but there's some vanilla and just good whiskey flavors. Nothing offensive. It's just smooth all the way around the palate, and I'm not hating this at all.
Yeah. So when you say cornbread, are you talking like sweet grainy, or
the buttery crusty edges of the cornbread?
Okay.
Yeah, that's always been one of my tasting notes is a sweet corn.
Right.
Yeah. So you hit it on the head, man.
Yeah, but it's not raw corn, it's cooked corn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of your grains in the 4-grain and stuff like that, those are all local to you, or are you
our corn whiskey, our bourbon, our Harvest Select, the rum cask, it's all local Montana grains. So, about 60 miles south of us, in the Mission Valley, we get a lot of our grain from Lake Seed, which is just a local family farm, and then out of the Great Falls area as well. So the Golden Triangle. So yeah, it's all Montana grain. That's one reason too, man. We don't do a rye. We're trying to work with a farmer on a rye. Right. That's 100% Montana. It's just not a lot of farmers grow rye. There's a couple that do, but they're all selling it to like these massive bakeries. So we can't, at a higher price than we could afford to pay.
What, to make bread?
Bread, pastas. I don't know, man. What do you
That
make?
sounds
What
really
else?
lame.
It sounds like you should be making booze. I don't know. Sell it to
I know,
us.
right?
man.
That's so much more fun.
Yeah, so if you send Mark some leads to some other distilleries also, I wouldn't mind getting involved with talking to some of this other distilleries in Montana because
Yeah,
I didn't even know there was a distillery in Montana until Mark reached out to me today.
that's awesome, man.
So then I went online and looked up your guys's when he told me what the name of was Whistling Andy. For some reason the first thing that came to my mind was it was something about Andy Griffith. So I was sitting there like going,
Yeah, that's fair.
is this
Fair.
like something
Fair.
where Andy Griffith lived in Montana in the Kalispell area or something?
Then he started a distillery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I read the story and I was like, okay, now I got the gist of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was it made it even more interesting because of the whole military thing and the fact that it was his nickname for the military. And
right, because he was always whistling, right? And so
Correct. Yeah.
so that's what he was known in his platoon, right?
Correct. He picked up the moniker and that's just what he went by after his time or during his time in the military.
And so this silhouette is supposed to be him?
Correct. That's Roger. That's him.
I think it's super cool. It's a great homage to someone that other people just like looked up to. It's very touching, heartfelt. Like I love it. I'm all about it.
Appreciate it, man. That's great.
Well, it seems like you like the bottle. It seems like you like the bottle. It looked like it was pretty had a pretty good dent out of it.
I think he made his old fashioned with like 4 ounces of it.
Well, after the old fashioned, I made a Manhattan. And I was having a hard time figuring out if I liked the Manhattan better than the old fashioned.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I think I prefer
bourbon's
old
tough.
fashions. Yeah, I think I prefer old fashions. Oh, by the way, let's go check the poll. Hey, Stanley, I'm gonna jump you off, man.
All right, thanks a lot for having
Great
me
to
on.
meet you, man.
No,
All
yeah,
right.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you
I'll
guys
talk
later.
to you later.
Cheers.
All right, bye.
All right, let's see what this poll is doing. I told you there was a poll in the chat. What is your favorite whiskey cocktail? Old fashioned, Manhattan, whiskey sour, or other? And put that other in the chat.
They're all good.
Dude, old fashioned is crushing it. 64%.
Wow. I get it. I get it, man. I love old fashions.
Just crushing it. I mean, I kind of thought that would be the one that comes out on top, but that's a significant on top because the whiskey sour and the Manhattan both have a good amount of votes. Let's see. Actually, all three of the other ones are all tied at 13%.
That's funny.
So it goes 60 for old fashioned, then Manhattan, whiskey sour, and other are all at 13%. Wise, that is.
I don't know. I like whiskey. I like highballs, man, with whiskey as well. Just whiskey, a little bit of soda.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lemon.
Well, of course, a lot of us cut our teeth on Jack and Coke.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll still have one from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not very, very often, but it's still there.
Yeah. Jack Daniels wise, there's a manager at their distillery who was a Navy veteran that's been picking barrels lately and putting them out on military bases only. To where if you're not on a military base, you can't find this bottle. And it's called Hero Select. And they're freaking good. And I've got 4 different ones of them so far. And really enjoying them. They're like between 125 and 130 proof.
Do you have one handy?
Yeah.
I just wanted to check out the label. It's funny you say Jack Daniels. So last summer, yeah, that's cool.
And it comes with dog tags on it.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. It's like a collector's item.
Yeah.
Yeah, last summer I was doing. I was just getting ready to leave work. It was like 7:15, and this couple walks in, right, and they wanted a tour, and I was like, I'm too nice of a guy to say no, and even though it was like
Right at closing time.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was like I kind of want to
Yeah.
get out of here, but I was like, these guys came in. We'll give them a tour, and anyway, so I'm giving this guy and her and his wife a tour, and they're asking questions about our Vendome and
About your what?
our Vendome pot still.
Okay.
Vendome's is a type of it's the brand that makes our still.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Vendome copper. Anyway,
right.
She starts asking questions about Vendome, and then starts asking like science questions. And I was like, man, I got to ask, like, what's your background? And she's like, well, I'm the assistant master distiller for Jack Daniels. And I was like, no shit. I was like, what the hell are you doing in Montana? She was going to, her name's Lexi. She was going to a country concert here in the area that they put on once a year.
And she just wanted to stop by Whistling Andy's, huh?
Well, she just looked up a craft distillery, and we popped up, and she had an evening to kill, and she's always been curious about the craft side of distilleries.
Right.
And it's funny because I've always been curious about the big brands.
Right. Naturally.
But naturally. So she had a kick out of just our distillery and the small craft aspect, and that Jack Daniels uses a Vendome continuous column still. So yeah, man, I ended up asking her a ton of questions, and I still keep in contact with her, and her husband works in the warehouse, the barrel warehouse. So he's the dude that's pulling barrels every day to get harvested. And I was like, that's a cool job while your wife's
it is
making the booze and you're harvesting it.
Yeah.
That's a cool bottle, man. Thanks for showing me that.
Oh yeah, dude. I think it's really cool. I like it. And it was because it was on base, and I don't have to deal with Washington state taxes if I buy something on base. And so it was like $59 out the door.
That's not bad at all.
No. Kentucky Mule.
That sounds good.
Bourbon, lime juice, ginger beer. Oh.
Blood orange bitters.
Hey, that made me think of something else, man. You were talking about the craft beer scene being so big out there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've had a couple kind of on the higher strength whiskey side, like over 100 proof, like 107, 110, whatever. That they were aged in a secondary barrel. There was like a stout barrel.
Was it a Montana brewery?
No.
Okay. I know a few brands that are doing that.
Yeah. I was just I've got.
It's a killer idea, man, and I would love to dabble in that.
Right.
I know Dry Fly does one with Kettle House. It's a brewery here in Missoula, and it's they call it their cask. It's some cask series, but it's awesome, and kind of like Jack Daniels did, like that IPA or the stout.
Right.
Same idea.
Yeah.
And we generally give so the brewery we work with, is our local brewery here in Bigfork, and then we work with Bonsai up in Whitefish. Okay. And I'd love to take a stout and put it, take a stout barrel that used to be a bourbon barrel and put whiskey back in it. We actually have barrels right above my finger right here. This is a French oak barrel.
Oh yeah, I can see the color difference. Yeah.
Yep. So that barrel right there is a French oak, and there's actually a stack of 4 right there.
Yeah.
So that was a sour brown beer. So there's 4 of them right there.
Oh wow.
That were aging our American style pink peppercorn pear gin, and it's been in there for 4 years. We just haven't went through like label approval. We got
Okay.
formulation for it, but no
Right.
label approval yet. But your mind goes right to like milling or mulling spice, like Christmas notes.
Right.
Yeah.
The,
So that's
the shortbread cookies and
yeah.
yeah.
Gingerbread.
Yep.
That your mind goes right to that. So that's super
Immediately.
unique. Kind of dabbling down that road, man. Like it's
Yeah.
as a distiller, you could take so much of like, because a brewer is like, I mean, distillers have been around for hundreds of years, but like the craft brewing scene, they've done so many different creative things. Like,
yeah,
you could pull from that and you could turn it into like, bring it to the distillation industry and make some crazy cool things.
Figure out how to do this because Mr. Sneak just told me to make a mint julep. How do I do that? Muddle the mint leaves in the bottle of a julep cup, or I'm looking at your website. Old-fashioned glass with simple syrup. Okay, so I'm going to add mint leaves to simple syrup in an old-fashioned glass, then muddle them.
You almost need crushed ice, though.
I have smaller ice cubes than the ones I was using earlier.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
It'll be fine. No big deal. All right, so should I use honey or the maple syrup?
For a mint julep, I'd probably go with honey, man.
Because I brought two different sweeteners out here because I'm not big on artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think God gave us enough natural sweeteners to where I don't have to get something that was made in the lab.
You should next time you make an old fashioned or for a sweetener, get some agave.
Some agave, all right.
Yeah, that's how we do all our old fashions in the tasting room, and a lot of times like mojitos, even like the agave is kind of the way to go.
Okay.
Whiskey Wine 101. The 10-year rum, we don't have it out yet, but that'll probably be a cask strength.
Please make it a cask strength.
110, 113 or whatever it's pulling at. But yeah, want to do something cool around that.
I will promise you, if you make that a cask strength, then me and Marvin and many other social media heads around here that are just like big into whiskey are going to get together and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think something cool to do with that, whether it's like a fundraiser, maybe the first bottle we auction off the first bottle or something. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It's sat for 10 years, man. It's like you just let it go longer. Who knows?
All right, so I'm muddling mint with local honey.
You got booze? You got the booze in there?
No. Why would I do that?
There you go.
I'm a soldier. I'm not
a mixologist.
Not a mixologist over here. Hey. No, but before I joined the army, I did a lot of cooking in restaurants, but I never went bartender.
Bartending's fun, man. I've done my fair share over the years. Man, it's people that have been doing it for as a long time. They know what they're talking about. Their flavor profiles they put together are just crazy. Like we sell product in Vegas, and we're in a number of like high end cocktail bars, and just the sheer amount of like professionalism that some of these people have is it's outstanding.
All right, so I'm crushing some ice in this bad boy.
Do you have a mule cup, like a copper mug? Not that it matters.
Shaker.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need to shake it.
Oh, do I need to strain it?
Nah, just pour it in there.
I have another wisdom glass around here somewhere. All right, so these are some local guys to us. Whiskey Wisdom. They make this American whiskey glass. It's fluted, kind of like a Glencairn, but the base is much heavier and it's much more solid. Just a manly feeling glass. I really like it.
That's cool.
All right, so I got a little strainer reader. Or technical terms, a straineration device.
Fine strain.
I threw an ice cube in there. So there you go, Mr. Sneak. I'm gonna mint julep it up.
Awesome.
That is. The mint hit me really hard at first, but then it calmed down and got really good. Yeah, that's not bad.
A good mint julep, man. You can't go wrong with those, especially during the Derby.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're all about that Woodford over there.
Yeah, Whiskey Wine 101. We do tours daily. We do daily tours at 2 and 4 p.m. But more than happy to have you out. That being said, we could do tours any time of the day. But during the summer, during the summer I try to limit it to 2 and 4. But I'd love to have you out here for a tour and do a video for your channel.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things to do is show people who we are and what we do.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'd be down to drive there to. Yeah, absolutely. Smells like summertime. I don't think I've ever had a mint julep before. All right, so no crap, there I was. The very first YouTube video I ever put out was a top 5 something. And the last category had to be a cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, the kind of cocktail I'm going to give you, I did 50% Maker's 46 and 50% Wild Turkey 101. Called it a Wild 46, a garnish of a slice of bacon. and that was it. That was my cocktail.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
How was it, man? You're a regular
so good
master blender.
Yeah. Just absolutely no idea. It was a blast though.
That's funny. Yeah, blend that up and call it a blended whiskey, and you start your own distillery, dude.
Yep, and sell it under the name Barrel or Bardstown or whatever. It's fine.
That's hilarious.
It was like some of my hugest disappointments in purchases whiskey wise is those blends that are like $150 and they're just not very good.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah. But so that's why I spend a lot of the focus on the local craft distilleries. This whole shelf is local stuff. And I can't wait to find some more Montana distilleries, because all of these right here are from Washington. And one of the questions earlier tonight was a distinctive note that you can find in all Montana whiskeys. Because if you go through this whole lineup of Washington State whiskeys, there is a distinctive note. And I initially thought it was from the water. Like, because all of them are using the water from the same area. Right?
Yep.
But I don't know if it's got anything to do with like the distilling process or where they're getting their barrels. There's so many variables in that I can't pin it down. The only thing I can pin down is that if it's a Washington State whiskey, there is a note in there that I find across the board.
Across the board, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
And so I'm really interested to see if like there's an Idaho note and an Oregon note and a Montana note. Like, I want to find it.
Idaho is just to get potatoes on everything. Potato, hash brown.
Oh, it's potatoes, Idaho.
Hash brown on the nose. That's funny. Yeah, no, I'll shoot you an email with some connections, man. You could reach out. You know, I know a number of other Montana brands that would love to jump on with you in the community for sure.
No, I would love to have them on the show. Yesterday I found your what was that, the Montana Distillers Guild website?
Yep, we're part of the guild.
Found like a dozen of them, including you guys.
Yep.
There's only one other distillery that I recognized on there that I've spoken to before. The other one, what was their name? They had like a Louisiana swamp thing going on. But they were a non-distiller producer.
Okay.
And I was like, that's not really our jam.
No, we're not going for that.
Right. And I'm not gonna hate on somebody trying to be an entrepreneur and do their own business, but I'm like, if your next door neighbor is growing his own crops and making his own whiskey from it, and you're buying your whiskey from somebody else, I'm gonna buy his every day of the week.
Absolutely.
And so,
well, I have a couple brands that stand out, man. So I'll definitely,
yes,
you know, shoot you over an email, and you know, as the guild, like all our guild members, we get along great, and love being part of the guild. And it's a pretty tight knit. You know, we're all competitors at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong, but you know, we're all pretty tight knit for the most part.
Right. Well, I would think the competition wouldn't have too much animosity, because on one side you're all lovers of whiskey, so you have a common interest.
Yep.
And then you have that old saying that a rising tide raises all ships.
Correct.
And so if you get more people into the Montana craft distillery scene, it's better for all of you.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Whether we're advocating for, you know, anything to get things done in the state. So like tasting room, we can only sell 2 bottles per person per day.
Okay.
Unified front of, you know, 15 to 20 distillers, like trying to get bills pushed through. Like that's how you get shit done, is with, you know, many hands make a large task small.
No, absolutely. 100%. You got a 4-man lift that thing all day.
Yeah.
You guys carry it together. Bring in the people to embrace the community, because if you're seen as rivals, it's that's short term.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the way that I've seen it. That's the way I see it anyway. I think that rivalry, like, oh, buy mine instead of his, I think that's very short term. Because I don't know anybody over here that's like, oh no, I'm not gonna buy the dry fly because I'm gonna buy the Woodinville instead. No, I don't know one person who thinks like that. Not at all.
They're both good, man.
Yeah. But I don't know anybody who's going to pick one or the other. They're gonna have both at their home bar because a rising tide raises all ships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna cut off the live stream and I'm gonna close off with you backstage.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, we've been going at it for a bit, and
it didn't even feel. I mean, it's crazy. We're almost at 2 hours. It's insane. No, this was awesome.
Went by super fast.
This was awesome.
All right, so everybody that's live with us in the chat right now, I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you being here with us and talking with us. I've had a great time talking with Gabe about Whistling Andy Distillery over in Montana at Bigfork. If you get a chance to swing through that area, be sure to drop him a line. And those of you that are catching this after the fact, check out the description, and I will go through and put the conversation navigation links in there. That way, if you want to jump to different parts of the conversation, you'll be able to do so. And I'll have that up in the next day or two.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys. Nice talking to you all. This is awesome community. I'm going to have to jump in and just come hang out with you guys.
Oh, absolutely, man. All right. Cheers, everybody. Good night.
Cheers, guys.
Enjoy it. Cheers.